Okay, welcome to the June 17th Mobility and Access Coalition. Next slide. So just a couple of housekeeping features before we get into the meeting. Just a reminder that you can join in the Zoom browser or in the Zoom app, the Zoom in a browser, and also you can call in. So we don't have any slides for the panel discussion. So if you lose internet access, you won't be missing out on much if you just call in. But there's the one tap number that you should have gotten when you registered. Next slide. And just a couple of features here. Just reminder that video does help with communication. So if you're speaking, please, if you are in a situation where you feel like you can turn on your camera, please do so. Also, please mute yourself unless you're speaking for the group so that we can eliminate background noise. You can put comments in the chat. And at this point, if everybody could put their name and their organization, that would be great. And then also you can see the other meeting participants by clicking on the participants link. And I want to make sure that you all see number 5 here, turning on closed captions. So if I could get confirmation from somebody that you are able to turn on closed captions, that would be great. So you go to more with the 3 dots, and then up at the top, you click on closed captions. If somebody could do that and give me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Last month, the closed captions didn't record.
Yes, I can see them, Angel.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
I
much.
got it. I think it says like show captions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Next slide. And just a reminder that the Mobility and Access Coalition is a bridge meeting between the human services and transportation industries. And we really believe that transportation access is essential to accessing opportunity, improving your quality of life, and meeting your basic needs. Transportation is an essential social determinant of health. And we want everybody to be thriving or thriving with their transportation options through multimodal transportation. So we're trying to build resiliency for folks by teaching different modes of transportation and not having people rely on just one. Next slide. So here's a brief overview. We have a couple of quick updates, and then we have a very interesting panel discussion. So we'll go ahead and get started with the quick updates. Next slide. Okay, Elaine, would you please give this update? Elaine, you're not.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was finishing lunch. Um, there we go. So yeah, I just wanted folks to be aware that for the District O, where Lynn Geisinger has been our RTD director, there are 2 candidates who will be running, Audrey DeBarros and Jack Rosenthal, and Community Cycles will be hosting a forum so you can hear the 2 just present what's important to them and learn more about them as we go on the ballot. Of course, the RTD is not, by party. That's why it's not on the primary ballot, but you should have those. So don't forget to vote by June 30th.
Great, thank you. And I did share the link in the chat for people to register for that. And I do know that Audrey's on the call as well. So just a reminder that you can click there, and it's going to be completely virtual, Elaine, or is it going to be hybrid?
I thought it was at the shop, but my brain is so into what's happening in June. So
okay, yeah, Walk and Bike Month is taking a big part of mental activity. I understand that. Okay, do you have any questions on the RTD forum before we move on to the next update?
Looking at the website, it says that it is at Community Cycles in person, and it's open to the public, but they say space is limited. So if you're interested in attending, it says please reserve your space in advance.
Perfect, Nick. Thank you so much for digging into that. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Maya.
Hi, this is Maya with the Mobility for All team. I want to announce that next month for our MAC meeting, we will be having a special in-person training with free lunch included, and that will be in Longmont at our St. Vrain hub from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's in place of like our normal MAC meeting or a virtual version. So it will fall on that fourth Wednesday of the month, actually. And yeah, I hope you can all make it. It'll be really great, and I'll add an Eventbrite link in the chat. If you could all register through there, then we'll know how much food to order and how many people to expect. So yeah, please join us next month for our in-person MAC training. I'll drop the link to register in the chat, and there's also a survey from Lee, who will be leading the training, on what you'd like to focus on or learn about. So there'll be a link to that survey in the chat and in a follow-up email as well.
Great, thank you, Maya. I do have one question regarding the training. For some of the people who attended last year's training, how will this one be different?
Well, we are inviting people to respond to the survey with like what they'd like to focus on, but it will give guidance on tools for facilitating meetings, like ideal group sizes, how to keep people engaged, especially in like virtual meetings, which we all know can be hard to stay engaged with. And yeah, kind of building off what was covered last year and additional areas of interest that we're hoping you will share with us.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town for that one, but I really am sad that I'm missing it. Lee's always such a great instructor. Next slide, Joseph. This one will also be for Maya.
Yeah, so we're starting our annual Mobility Heroes campaign, and are ready for nominations. So if you could all think about drivers, volunteers, transit advocates that have really made an impression or had an impact on you and your community and the work you're doing, we'd love to recognize them at a luncheon in November. It's just a cool way we get to celebrate the work in this space and the people who are making a difference. Yeah, so there's a link to the survey to nominate your heroes for this year. And then there'll be more information coming with the luncheon, but it is currently set to be on November 13th on a Friday, and similar timing, like 11 to 2. And that's in place of a November MAC meeting. We'll be having that celebration, and lunch and gathering. So I hope you can all make it to that as well.
Does anybody have any questions for Maya on the Mobility Heroes campaign?
Yeah, Maya, when we fill out those forms, should we we don't have to worry about filling out every, like if we can't think of a school bus driver, for example, we would just skip that one?
Correct. So
Okay.
there's like 7 awards, and they're categorized by like favorite volunteer driver, favorite transportation advocate. So at the start of the survey, you'll see that list, and then, I mean, take a guess or do your best to match the person that you want to nominate to the category. And if not, you can just go to the end of the survey and enter their information. But yeah, you don't have to nominate 7 people Just
Okay,
Yeah.
if you can't think of 7 people.
yeah,
I mean,
just
if you can, you go ahead, but you don't.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank
Looks
you.
like-
Were
Thanks,
you
Sarah.
guys?
It looks like Megan has a question. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, can you drop that link in the chat, I guess, for to do the nominations or where
Yes.
it's located at? And then I know I've missed the last couple of years, so do we have a date in November for when that award ceremony is gonna be? I didn't quite hear if you said.
Yeah. It'll be Friday, November 13th,
Okay.
from 11 to 2 p.m. We're still zeroing in on a location. But the date is set, and then
No
I-
worries. I just need like to put it in my calendar because I love coming to it, and I just
Yeah.
last 2 years I've missed it, so I don't want to miss it.
yeah, thank you for asking. And yeah, the date is in the chat, and please, like Megan is saying, block out your calendar for that time.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of build off of that, we do have a lot of in-person events. We have 3 in-person events coming up for the second half of this year, right? So July 22nd, that's the in-person plain language training instead of the regular virtual meeting. And then we're gonna have a panel discussion on safety in August. So that's gonna be a great virtual session. And then we'll do disability etiquette with the Rocky Mountain ADA Center in September. And then we'll have a regular meeting with presentations in October. And then November will be in person for the Mobility Heroes. So there are 3 in person. So I will send out those after this meeting. I didn't want to confuse people right before this meeting to send those out, but I'll send out those holds on your calendars if that's all right. Great. Any other questions about the Mobility Heroes campaign? I guess just one comment is, you know, I know that VIA does a great job of like nominating their folks and for the awards, and then BVSD also does a good job. So we also want to try to make sure that the other transportation providers in the area also like get recognized. So please like just thoughtfully think through, you know, the Z-Trip drivers, Uber, Lyft drivers, St. Vrain Valley School District, if we have anybody who goes there, and then like Cultivate or any other volunteer programs. So we do a good job of trying to make sure that we represent different organizations. Great. Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Next slide. Okay, so I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that Melissa Hunter has been awarded the MetroVision Dr. Cogway Rising Star Award. So I am so excited for this. If you're going to attend the August 27th MetroVision Awards celebration, please make sure that you reach out, take a picture. But Melissa has been with Mobility for All for over like probably 3.5 years now, and started as a grad student in the environmental sustainability program. And just, I have seen her fully like indoctrinated into the multimodal transportation way of life. Like Mel got an e-bike, does a great job as our employee transportation coordinator, and is leading some really great projects like the Safe Routes to School multi-generational biking project that she led last year. That distributed over 100 bikes to families at the Lafayette Elementary School. And then also they're taking the lead on our Safe Streets for Students project to prioritize safety improvements around 108 different schools in St. Vrain Valley School District and Boulder Valley School District. So I just want to say a huge kudos to Mel, and just like you're such an amazing instrumental part of the team, and just so caring and helping, like when it comes to helping people plan their trips or just encouraging them through like social interactions to ride B-cycle or take the bus to our gardening like volunteer time. So I could go on forever, but if you are going to be at the MetroVision Awards, please stop by and tell her congratulations.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's definitely much deserved. Yeah, you're a rock star. Yay. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the main part of our meeting today. We're going to talk about consumer experiences. So when we were meeting with the co-chairs, Adriana and Elaine, we just really talked about how we have a lot of experts on these panel discussions, and it would just be really refreshing to hear from people who are using the services and find out like what they think of the services and why they use the services. So today's panel discussion is moving through the community. And Joseph, if you could stop sharing so we could see people's faces when they turn on their cameras, that would be great. Our goal today really is to hear directly from writers and people of all abilities, backgrounds, and ages. And so that we can really have an insight into like what's important to the users of these systems and what do they truly need to be supported in moving around in our community. So I think that all of our panelists are on. I think that I see everybody. So I will go ahead and go down my list. And the first one that I'm going to start with is going to be Mersal. Is that you on the phone number? Not sure if Mersal can unmute herself. Does anybody know the code? It's like *7. Mersal, we'll go ahead and start with somebody else and we'll circle back to you. If that's you, the 224 number. Okay, so the first person then that we're going to start with is Sarah Lee. So Sarah Lee has experience with Access-a-Ride, with Access on Demand, with VIA Mobility Services Family and Friends program. And you might know her as the Access-a-Ride Queen because that's how she likes to refer to herself. And we refer to her that way as well. So Sarah, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? And what is your favorite mode of transportation?
Yeah, thanks, Angel. Yes, I've decided that I was the Access-a-Ride Queen when I started working for Mobility for All. And it's so funny because everybody still calls me that, and I will not stop them. So yes, my name is Sarah Lee. I'm a Mobility for All outreach and engagement specialist. I live in Longmont. I would say my favorite mode of transportation is Access-a-Ride. So yeah, I would say it's primarily Access-a-Ride. I use Access on Demand, Friends and Family via, and then RTD Flex Ride sometimes as well. I would say Access-a-Ride is my favorite.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maggie, I'm assuming that that's you under Adriana's name. So you'll be next. Can you please introduce yourself and talk about what modes of transportation you use? I think you're frozen, Maggie. Oh, Maggie. Okay, Maggie, we're gonna circle back to you. It looks like your camera was turned off and your audio wasn't coming through. So I don't know if Adriana's there to help out, but we really appreciate you trying again. We'll circle back next one. And then I see that the 224 has successfully unmuted themselves. Is this Mersal?
It is not.
Oh, who is this?
This is Liz from the city of Longmont.
Oh,
Hi, Liz.
wonderful. Thank you, Liz. So it looks like Mersal did not join us today, unfortunately. Maybe she'll be able to hop on a little bit later. So Miriam, we'll go ahead and move on to you. Miriam, can you please introduce yourself, talk about what where you live, and then also like what mode of transportation is your favorite?
Sure. My name is Miriam. I live in Louisville. I have experience taking the RTD and also car share, Colorado car share.
Great, thank you. And then last but not least, is Scott. Scott, can you please introduce yourself? And we'll circle back to Maggie after you introduce yourself. What city do you live in, and what mode of transportation do you use?
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me here. Anyways, so I work at CU Boulder, CU in Boulder, and I live in Boulder. So I usually just ride my bike. So that would be my favorite way of getting to work, and then also groceries and all that. But I started out riding my bike, and then I got a couple of e-bikes from the program through the city of Boulder, which I really appreciated. So once I got the first bike, then I just was e-biking all the time, and then I ended up getting another one on the second round. And when my son rides the first one and I ride the second one, and then now I just have a regular bike and I just usually just ride that. But yeah, usually I ride my bike, and then it alternates between my wife and RTD to get to work on snow days.
Yeah.
And yeah, so those are my two main forms of transportation normally.
Great, thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
And then Maggie, I'm gonna ask you to mute, so maybe it'll pop up and you'll be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Would you mind repeating the questions for me?
Yeah, can you just introduce yourself? Let us know what city you live in and what's your favorite mode of transportation.
My name is Maggie Barral, and I live in Boulder. And my favorite transportation is walking. And fortunately, where I live in Boulder, I can walk to a lot of things, and I love that. And my next favorite is when I'm helping to coordinate the grocery shopping for Presbyterian Manor, where I live. And my second favorite is shopping with that, with Via, that service, and being with friends as we ride the bus and then we go to the stores. And I really enjoy that.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're going to dig into these a little bit more here with the questions, but Sarah, I'm going to start with you one time for the first
Okay.
question here. So we know that the system is really built around personal autos quite a bit, and a lot of people, they're intimidated by taking other modes of transportation. So as a paratransit user, like, what do you have to think about before you take a paratransit trip? Like, what do you do? Like, what planning do you have to do? What do you have to take into consideration?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of planning. I wrote down a couple of things. There's a 30-minute window that Access-a-Ride gives you. So they'll like pick you up between, for example, like 8 to 8:30 a.m. So it's good to have a comfortable place to wait. If you can find something like somewhere safe from the elements and from like strangers that are, usually strangers are nice, but things like that. I think about scheduling time on either side of the trip window so that if they're like a little bit late, I'm not super late for like if it's a doctor appointment or something similar. And then like sometimes traffic, like other pickups and drop-offs, they aren't perfect. So sometimes they're not always controllable, but sometimes putting an appointment time in to Access-a-Ride helps us be on time for things, even if we're picked up really early. Sometimes that happens if I'm going to Denver, they'll pick me up, 2 or 3 hours before my appointment, but like they have to accommodate for the shared ride service. So like if they're picking 2 people up and dropping off 2 people while like on the way to my appointment, I have to like keep that in mind. So I can't just guess when they're gonna pick me up. I also think about like how many bags I'm bringing with me. If I'm bringing my, like I go to the temple in Denver, so I'll bring my temple bag, but it's like a suitcase. Like it's a pretty hefty, it's, so if I'm bringing it with me and then I'm going to dinner with someone afterwards, I'm gonna have my temple bag with me. So I have to think about that. I can't just put stuff in my car.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Also
great.
bring a mobile charger. That
Oh,
is,
mobile charger, that's a good one. Yeah,
yes,
I like
bring,
that. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. So Miriam, I know you said you use Colorado Car Share and also RTD. Like, what are some of the considerations that you have to take into account when you're planning trips?
Yeah, so especially with the RTD, just making sure that I can find like the bus that's going to take me closest to the area. And like if it's me going to the doctors or something like that, just making sure I look within a few hours, just so I'm there on time. I don't really worry about the on the way back. And then with the Colorado Car Share, obviously it's car share, so that's usually something that you want to do maybe a day or two before, just to make sure, there's no one else going to be scheduling at that same time, and then being considerate and making sure I know how much time I'll need the car share for as well. Um, yeah, pretty much just timing, just making sure I know how much time I'm going to need, and if there's any walking distance after getting off the bus, things like that.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. I really
Mhm.
appreciate that. I think Scott, like just in general, biking can be very intimidating for, when you bike for transportation. So like what things do you consider as a cyclist when you're planning your trips?
Yeah, the obvious stuff like weather and for me it's really convenient. It's not too bad. I live close to a bike trail, which is not the most direct route to get to work. So usually I take the most direct route on the way to work. And so basically just the weather and then planning for what it looks like after I get to work, whether I'm gonna change my clothes or not. And then also like lunch considerations. And I was just thinking about, as other people were talking, usually I try to do errands if I'm going to do an errand at the end of the day or at lunchtime. So that includes a lock that I need to take with me. And then also if I do a recreational activity, I need to pack all that stuff onto my bike to do it. That way I'm not like doing multiple trips in the same direction. So those are probably the main considerated, weather really.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely been stuck in, downpour on the bike, so yeah. Yeah. So Maggie, I know that you help plan trips for other people, right? Like for the shopping trips with your fellow residents. Like what factors do you take into account for planning those trips? And you're still on mute.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Yeah. So what do you factor in when you're doing planning those trips for shopping?
Apparently, before I started helping with the grocery trips, they had a sign-up sheet. And when I began doing this, we didn't. So they've just reinstated the use of the sign-up sheet. So I created a sign-up sheet that has all the information on it, and I have to put that up. Timing again is something. Have to put that up at a certain time so that it gives the people in the manor time to think about when, whether they're going to go or not, and if the timing would work. And it has information on it, how to contact people at VIA to find out more information about the service, if they have any questions, and then my number so they can call me if they have questions about it. And the time I post the list on a Saturday, and then I pick it up Tuesday night, and I have those times clearly marked on that. And then I do an email address to Amy at VIA with the riders and the information, all the information she'll need so that she can make the reservations. And I run out of information.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure that that's a really valuable resource for the Presbyterian Manor residents. How did you end up with that job? Were you just like, you just wanted to volunteer to do it, or did somebody
did.
ask you?
I did, because having worked for VIA in the past,
Mhm.
I really felt good about helping with something involving, volunteering. And then I got to know the people that I arranged the trips for. And that meant a lot to me, moving into a place, that has something like 80 people living in. And I have lived in, a residence, for college, for instance, so that I met a lot of people that way, but it's very different from moving into a senior residence, because
Yeah.
we're there to live and to make friends and find ways of getting transport, and the college situation is so different from that, because everybody's there to learn and get a degree and go out and work in the world.
Yeah.
That's been an interesting difference. And I just love the idea of helping with volunteering for VIA.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you. For the next question, we're gonna rotate through a little bit differently. So Miriam, you'll be first here. So other modes of transportation, there's a lot of like fears or misconceptions about how to use car share or use the bus. Like, what fears or misunderstandings do you think people often have about RTD or Colorado car share?
I think it's just how to use the transportation. I know when I first started using RTD, I was a bit nervous. The website was a bit like not user friendly to me. So I've been kind of using maps. That's a bit easier. So maybe like how to access these things, and then I wasn't sure how to use the Colorado car share. It seemed like a lot of information, but once you actually get into it, it's pretty easy. You have to fill out some paperwork. They send you a fob, things like that. So I think it might just be intimidating on how to use these things efficiently and how to get set up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I know that keeps me from trying new things if there's a lot of like upfront preparation or upfront
Yeah.
like forms that you have to do. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Scott, for you for biking, like what sort of fears and misconceptions do people have about biking or for commuting?
I guess I try not to think about them. I guess some of the things that I hear a lot are people don't want to show up to work sweaty. So, because have been riding my regular bike, so that's probably one of the things that people are always saying, or that, and also the safety riding on the road. People really, I've been hit by a car. Like I've been commuting for 10 years, and then one time I have been in an accident, but I don't, some of these fears are not unfounded, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Can't think of
Yeah.
anything that anybody else is, but and also the distance that they live from work or whatever that is, that they're afraid that they're going to be too tired to work through their day. I work with a lot of people that are up and around a lot, and they're afraid that they'll be worn out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think those are understandable. I think e-bikes probably have changed some of those factors a little bit.
yeah, they're amazing as far as the distance, and then also, yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Maggie, just in general, like when you're helping coordinate these trips, like what fears or misconceptions do people have about, or it doesn't have to be the shopping trips, it can be any of the modes that you talked about, walking or anything. Like what fears and misconceptions do you find that people have?
I think when vehicles go over a bump and it's quite a kind of shakes one's body, I think they're worried about that sometimes, depending on their physical condition. And they are so appreciative of the drivers who anticipate difficulties that they might have in getting around, getting on and off the bus. And of course, the buses have lifts for people who have walkers. Many of our people have walkers that they bring to shopping. But I would say that that's one of the things that they appreciate the most, and I do too, is a driver that's aware of what a senior might face who has a special condition, illness, injury, something like that. And then also people who get in the market and kind of lose themselves. I mean, not literally, of course.
Yeah.
But they forget the time, and they appreciate when a driver will go after someone like, or come into the building and look for them. And of course, I do that too when I ride with them, which I try to do almost every time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think those smaller buses, the body on chassis buses, are bouncier than, you know, a big bus or a car. So that is a consideration depending on what your mobility limitations are. Thanks
Mhm.
for sharing. I appreciate it. Sarah, like for Access-a-Ride, or Access on Demand, like what are a couple of the misconceptions or fears people have using the service?
Yeah, I love that you said that, Maggie, about the bounciness, because that's also happens with Access-a-Ride, and I know that RTD is working on getting like a more mixed fleet of vehicles so that things could be a little less bouncy. Although with a wheelchair accessible vehicle, they just tend to be like lend themselves to bounciness. Um, a lot of people assume that like I can just call my bus whenever I want, like my Access-a-Ride. Like if I have an Access-a-Ride and I'm like at a poetry event and it's like 9:30 and I have a pickup at 10:30, like they think that I can just like call it whenever I want, and that's not how it works. Like I set up a window, and like sometimes they can come a little earlier. I guess if I can get through to dispatch and get a hold, and then dispatch gets through the drive, like hold of the driver, but I'd rather just wait because by then, like you're waiting on hold. I don't know. It's just not worth it.
Okay.
So I think that's like the time commitment is
Mhm.
a lot of the things that people don't understand. Um, the other one is like, um, so like, you know, people will invite me to like parties and stuff, which is fun. And then it's like, okay, but when are you going to be done? And they'll be like, well, whenever it's done. And I'm like, I can't really, I can't schedule. I mean, I have to schedule it. Like, so
Yeah.
if I schedule it at 6:30 and the party's just barely getting started at 6:30, I have to leave at 6:30. Like if my bus comes, you know, so that's a couple of things,
Yeah.
time commitment, I think.
Yeah, time commitment. It's a change, right? To be able to go whenever you want, or,
Yeah.
you know, but to like plan ahead is really important. And
Yeah.
Gabriel from RTD, basically just a reminder that people need to register 24 hour or schedule their trip 24 hours in advance to be picked up.
Yes, before 5 p.m. the day
Okay.
before. So if your thing's at 6, it's not 20. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, so it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be like a full 24 hours. It just has to be by the end, by 5 o'clock the day prior. So
Right.
get it in the manifest. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and Sarah does use Access on Demand. I think we'll get to that next one maybe a little bit, Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and start with you, Scott, around community connection. So I know like the cycling community, you know, is pretty like strong and supportive. Can you share one experience when you were biking that helped you feel more connected to the community or to people that you like work with or travel with?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, because I really just I use it for transportation. I do recreational bike a little bit, but usually it's to get away. But I really, it's not that I'm a super outgoing person, but the bike to work days always make me feel like I'm a part of a community, and seeing all the other people out riding a bike and this and that really makes me feel good. And then I would also add that I end up working with a lot of people at my work, and they a lot of people ride their bikes here as just a mode of transportation also, that it's just a natural thing that we all do. So I feel like I'm a part, you know, other bike riders, we all kind of get together and we could commiserate like, man, I was cold this morning or whatever it is. But yeah, I would say, but I really do value the bike to work days. I'm sure it's a lot of work and
And that's a good plug, just so everybody knows, Bike to Work Day is, I see Elaine's putting it in the chat also. Bike to Work Day is next week. So if you work from home, you can also just bike to a station and go back home, and that counts as a trip. So definitely take advantage of that. Thanks, Scott. Maggie, for you, like being that, you know, coordinator of those trips probably like has a lot of social connections. Like, can you share like one experience or one story about how you have been connected to people even more closely because of your role?
I think I touched on it before, and it was really important to me because moving into what for me was a large group of people, I so appreciated getting to know better the people that I rode with to the markets. And it was fun to talk with them. And it still is. We're creating a group, and there are a couple more people that are beginning to ride, which is very nice. And that meant a lot to me because it made me feel like more a part of the community when I first moved there.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. That's that community connection. And I'm sure people are just really grateful for all of the work that you're doing and understanding that system.
Feels good to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Sarah, for you, like, is there some sort of experience that you've had with either Access on Demand, Access-a-Ride, or another mode of transportation that you like was really remarkable for you?
Yeah, there's so many remarkable trips that I've been on. Like, I love all of my trips because my drivers are so nice and I get to like have bonding time with them. And I'm thinking of one time in particular where we kept picking up and dropping off people. And I had a trip. It was from my work in Boulder to my home in Longmont. And it was like 2.5 or 3 hours, like by the time I got off the bus. But it was so fun because we were having bus therapy. Um, my driver, my driver was Jay, he's now a supervisor, I think. So I haven't seen him in like a lot of years, like a year or two. But we were having therapy because there was this guy I really liked. And I was talking to like Dawn, one of my friends who was also on the bus. She was going home from Boulder too. And it was so fun because it was raining. We were driving this crazy like traffic, and it was like could have been terrible if we were like all grumpy, but we were all just laughing, and it was bus therapy.
Yeah, that's
So
wonderful.
yes.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what about you, Miriam? Like with Colorado Car Share or RTD, has there been like a really great community-oriented experience that you would like to share?
I would say it just helps me more connect with the community because I can get places. I'm a parent, so being able to get to the school, it's a long walk. So taking the bus, it takes me very close so I can, go to those after school things with my kids or things during the day, field days, things like that. So I can be, connected with the parents and things like that. That's what I would say helps me connect.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll start with you, Maggie, for this next question. So on this call, we have some planners, we have transportation providers and human services organizations. Like, what advice would you have to people who are making these decisions and, providing these services to help people access the mode of transportation more easily? So in your case, like, what do you wish VIA like understood? Or, I mean, I know you used to work there, so it might be a little bit challenging to address that, but what do you think is important for us to understand?
I think we'll have several ideas about this, and one of them specifically is, and we were given training as drivers, of course, in how to how to appreciate, and I've brought this up before, I think, how to appreciate what the people that I drove were going through, if they had special needs, special conditions. And then how to speak with them about it, because people want to have agency. They want to be able to decide things for themselves. And if we just say, oh, you should do this, that does not work. So being sensitive about finding out what a person needs and asking for them to tell you is really helpful. And then on another topic, I asked some of my friends where I live if they had ideas on transportation. And apparently RTD had a stop right in front of where we live, or right across the street from where we live. And they missed that because they used to be able to get to the bus stop so easily. And so I don't know if that's going to be changed or not, but I thought I would mention it, and I appreciate your question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Another person suggested he had heard that Denver was putting into effect what would I call it? Anyway, they've contracted, apparently, another friend helped me look it up, contracted with Veo or Veo, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, which is, I guess, a manufacturer of scooters and things like that. And they've contracted with that company, and they call it Micro Mobility.
Yeah.
And they're purchasing vehicles that are like scooters, but they have a seat and they have widely spaced rear wheels. So it's 3-wheel, which is much better balanced. And there are so many people my age and around my age who have balance issues.
Yeah.
That really sounds good. And the people that I spoke with at where I live said that sounded really good to them too. So it would be a subscription, I guess, like the green scooters.
Yeah.
And I think it's a wonderful idea. I'd use it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. The micromobility options is something that's a little bit more adaptive for people that can't or don't feel safe, like balancing on 2 wheels. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you think would be helpful for RTD to understand about using Access-a-Ride?
For RTD to understand?
Yeah, or planners who are planning the
Oh,
transportation system.
yeah. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. There's so many things that are important about it. I think one thing is that like our disability, when we're explaining it, should be like that like autism counts and like anxiety counts, like anything that's keeping you from using the regular bus, like it should count. I mean, I think it does, but I think the fact that it does is really important. Like, how are you on your worst day? How are you on your most exhausting day? Like, what makes you eligible for Access-a-Ride is the reason that you can't use the regular fixed route bus independently. So, like, know how to explain that during the interview, and also knowing about the customer portal, knowing how to use it. It's kind of crazy. Like, they don't call on the first trip of the day. There's a couple things. They don't call on the first trip of the day, and dispatch doesn't tell you the ETA until your window has closed. So if you can't find the bus and you can't get the ETA for some reason, like if the app is working funky or not working, and you're trying to get an ETA, dispatch will tell you you have to wait the full 30-minute window. But like the bus could leave you, like if you can't find them or you can't figure out like where they are, or like you want to know if you're gonna wait 31 minutes or 60 minutes, like you want to be prepared. Like you don't know how late they're running, and like dispatch will just tell you like we can't tell you. Like literally yesterday, actually, my friend texted me that Accessoride left after, like, she was standing in the place she always stands, like outside her house, and Accessoride like went around the back of the building and they didn't see her, so they left and she didn't have a ride to work. So, because they don't call in the beginning of the, like, the first trip of the day, so that's a really tricky thing, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah, that notification and just, those barriers to accessing the technology, but specifically
Yeah.
on like the first trip of the day seems a little different.
Yeah.
And then also understanding that disabilities might vary. Is that accurate? Like,
Yeah.
that it's
Mhm.
not always consistent. Like some disabilities are worse on some days. And just to
Yeah.
have a little more empathy with that. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So Miriam, what do you think would be important for planners or programs or, people to understand about using and relying on Colorado Car Share or RTD?
I'm not sure how to really answer that. I know RTD, it's, I'm just taking the regular bus, so that's been pretty decent. I haven't had any issues. They're very nice. Colorado Car Share, I think it could be utilized a bit more if we just had more areas that we could access the car. Because like I was telling you previously, I have to go to Lafayette now to get the car share. So I do rely a bit more on the bus then, since it does take a bit more time to get to Lafayette. I have to switch 2 buses to get there. And then I have to walk a little bit of distance to get the car share. And then, if I have to go do something, I'm probably exhausted by the time I get home after doing that. So that does make me rely more on the RTD. So if it was just a bit more accessible, that would be nice. I think that's all.
Yeah, that's good. More locations, like, yeah, you don't have to just go to one destination. Great. So Scott, for you, like, what is important for planners to understand about riding a bike to work?
Yeah, I guess I have a couple things. So the I guess since you're asking, I feel like the bike trail system and everything is good enough for me, and I really appreciate it. The times that I have the most trouble is after a storm and there's ice all over the place. And it's not necessarily the snow, it's after the snow melts and then goes over the road and then that fact keeps me from riding my bike, like, maybe 2 or 3 days after a storm, because I'm too reluctant to ride over the ice. So I guess as far as planners are concerned, there's one section on Folsom that really sticks out on my head. There's like the in between, I guess it's Valmont, and then I guess that's Mapleton or something. There's that hill right there, and they pile the snow up there on the curb, which is great, that separates the bike lane from the road. But then that ice just melts over like a 2 or 3 day period and just flows over the bike lane. And it can be an adventure riding over that. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were pointing towards with that question, but that's one of the things that, like, just the planning on how, especially in Colorado, because we have such erratic weather, that how the bike lane's gonna react to the weather situations and to keep people on their bikes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
And then my other thought was for RTD, because I'm a pretty reluctant RTD rider. So I also, again, I appreciate it, because there's a lot of times when I have no other way to get to work. It's either walk or ride RTD to get to work. So it's a great, when on snow days, it's really great. And being a reluctant bus rider, I recognize that sometimes it's 3 days, 2 or 3 days after the storm, where the snow is mostly gone. I don't know all the routes because I only ride it during the storm, and I'm not motivated enough to like get a map and like plot it all out and see. But I always think, like sometimes I'm like, I've been starting to do this more and more because I am getting more into it, but I'll like put my bike on the bus and then ride it to a certain location that I know is safe. And then I'll take my bike off and then ride the rest of the way home. And I don't know if that just involves putting maps on the buses or that say the route and like I'm like, well, I think I could get off here. I mean, like I know Boulder pretty well. So, but yeah, I would just say that.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's definitely, Elaine had mentioned that there's like the digital version, right? Like the Google Maps has been including bus routes a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, I think when people ride metros, right, like they can clearly see what the next stop is inside the metro. So I can see, the value of both.
Yeah, and I understand too, part of it is my just not helping myself too, or whatever, because Google Maps does a really good job of telling me which bus to get on and where to take it to, where to get off. But yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for that. So I don't know if you all have been using these modes of transportation for very long, but usually there's a learning curve, like when you're trying something new. So Sarah, I'm going to start with you. Like, what challenges did you face when you first started using paratransit, and how did you get past those challenges?
There was a challenge because I actually didn't have a smartphone until 2022. Like when 2022 was almost over, was when I first got a smartphone ever. And so I had a sidekick from like age 12 to like age 23. And so I didn't have access to the portal, and I didn't even know the customer portal existed for Access-a-Ride. So I would just be on hold with scheduling and on hold with dispatch and on hold with like so many like customer care, and like I would say the customer portal is like way awesome shortcut. And then I would also I don't know if this is a challenge, but this is mostly like just a trick, I think, is that I use Access on Demand for shorter trips, like errands within town. Like they did just reinstate like multiple stop trips, which is awesome. So you can like go to the post office and drop something off and go back home. And if you're a Live customer, that one trip will only cost you $2.25 if you set it up that way. So
Sarah?
you don't have to.
Sorry,
Oh,
can you explain what
sorry.
Access on Demand is?
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Access on Demand is a subsidized like Uber, Lyft, Z-Trip, and Metro Taxi. Actually, Metro Taxi, I think, is not gonna. I'm pretty sure that they're not gonna do it anymore. I could be wrong about that, but yes, they're subsidized rideshare programs by RTD. And then if you have Live, it's low income. It's $2.25 upfront, and then RTD covers $20 of it, and then you'll cover the rest, however much that is. And then if you're regular fare, it's $4.50 per trip. And then they'll cover the $20 as well. And yeah, so
So the
that
customer portal
one,
and not having a smartphone was really a challenge for
yes,
you.
yes, I didn't
Yeah.
even know the customer portal existed for like a long time, probably a year.
Yeah, thank you. And then it says this, Sasha also said that they're gonna have 2 new cab services joining the Access
Yes,
on Demand July 1st. So
for
we'll
wheelchairs.
yeah,
Yes.
we'll send out some information in our newsletter maybe. Like I don't know if we'll make the July deadline, but thanks for sharing that, Sasha. So Miriam had to hop off, but I just want to thank her for taking part in this. But Scott, like when you first started commuting by bicycling, like what were some of the challenges you faced and how did you address them?
I've been doing it for a long time. I thinking about it, and even when we first moved to Boulder, probably having a bicycle getting a bike that I wanted to ride and I was comfortable riding it because I knew I was going to be riding it every day. So first I had to buy a bike, and the same thing when I was a kid and in college and all that too. Always getting access to bike community cycle is awesome for that here now, and then also the e-bike program was pretty fantastic. I guess
Yeah.
that was one of my issues. Another issue, and I'm a I was a pretty active guy, but there's a breaking in period from riding your bike if you have to ride it 15 or 20 miles, like when I was younger, um, to ride your bike that far and not be just smashed by the time you get there. And then in one case, I was in college and sitting there sweating and like trying to. So yeah, I was definitely worried about that, and I guess for me at that point, I didn't have much of a like that was my form of transportation.
Yeah.
And then also here, weather's been an issue, more of an issue because of the I came from California and Oregon, and we have weather there, but it's a cold here, and getting stuff to wear so I wasn't freezing by the time I got to work and stuff like that. So I would say
Yeah.
those are some of the things,
Yeah, it's important. I think it can also be intimidating, like what kind of bike do you get? So like beyond just like what can you afford? There's so many options, right? Decisions.
yeah, and yeah, I'm not a gear guy, but I love a nice tool. So like
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I didn't want to just buy something to get me through. I wanted to buy something that was that I was going to enjoy riding and look forward to it.
Yeah.
So there's that part.
Great, thank you. So Maggie, for you, like what challenges, I mean, it's a little bit difficult because you were like, be a driver, be a employee before, but what challenges did you face at first and how did you address them? Or if you feel like that's so long ago for you because you were an employee, like what challenges do people have that you help, either or?
Challenges in regard to,
Using Via or using the shopper shuttle or going for walks, right? Any of the modes that you prefer.
well, it's physical challenge for me. I love to walk, but I don't walk well because of something that's happened recently in my body alignment. So that I have to plan differently for that and take a walking stick. I've started doing pole walking, which has helped my balance, but I want to increase that, and that should help my walking become a little easier, because loving to walk and having trouble walking is a challenge.
Yeah.
But I want to do it as long as I can. And may I bring up something else unrelated to what you just asked?
Oh, of course, please.
Well, I just wanted to say I love being able to ride the bus to the airport, the RTP bus. I've forgotten the term.
The AD, yeah.
Yeah, it's just great. And of course, you do have to plan for that. And I don't fly very often, but it's just a wonderful service. And of course, the charge for seniors, and I don't know if this is true of other riders, but it's $1.35 for the trip to the airport. So that was just under $3 for a round trip. And I don't know how long that'll last, but I appreciated that too. So I just mentioned
That's
that.
great. Yeah, it is $1.35 for people with disabilities and also low-income folks. And then Elaine's also putting in the chat that there's a potential Longmont Airport bus that could be starting in the nearest future. So hopefully Longmonters will be able to also take the bus to the airport. Thanks for that. So our final question for the day is really about future oriented, if you could wave a magic wand, what is one thing that you would change about the transportation system? And I'll go ahead and start with you, Scott. So you have your magic wand. What are you changing?
I guess if I could change anything, I've been thinking about this a little bit. I've been traveling around a bit, other countries, and it appears to me that like in some other countries that people don't. Sometimes when I ride around, I feel like people that are riding their bike for commuting are doing it because they have to and not because they want to. Or it's like they'd rather be driving a car, but they have to ride their bike. And I look at, like I was just in Japan and I was in Norway and Sweden and not too long ago in Colombia, and they have a culture around bike riding. And I think it's less less about I think it's just like a cultural attitude as opposed to like what you all maybe are doing. And I don't know how that changes, but I love riding my bike. It's a benefit to working that I could do this. I can ride to and from work. It's great. And I think if there's anything, it's a little bit unrelated to probably what you want, but that's what I would change is that the culture around bicycling and just being a part of your life would be more there.
Having more people, more of like, just the assumption that it is a viable option versus.
Yeah,
something that-
not the third choice or fourth choice or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks. How about you, Maggie? Like from your perspective, what would be your wish to change and improve the transportation system?
Well, I'm really love that question, and I want to build on what Scott said. To change the way we look, the way we think about changing, so that we look at other cultures, and that bicycle culture makes such sense to me. It's a wonderful, I used to love to ride my bike, and I hope to do that again. But there's one country that I saw a video on that uses bicycle travel to make energy. And so when you're riding the bike, you're creating energy instead of, some kind of deficit. So learning from other cultures, learning from other countries, and making change based on things that work for so many parts of our society makes such sense to me, because we've got a lot of good lessons out there if we learn from them.
Right, I love it. Thank you. And I think that I remember, in particular with the train discussions, like people always are referencing their European vacation, right? Like when they were in Europe, they were able to take the train between countries, right? So it is a valuable experience to just like expose yourself to different cultures. Okay, so Sarah, one last question. What would you do with your magic wand?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I had so much fun with this question. I wrote so many more things than I had time to say here, but I would probably extend Accessoride to Fort Collins, and make them be able to go to the Fort Collins Temple, because that's the hardest place I can't get. And I would somehow make it not harder on the drivers, the passengers, and RTD if it were extended through Bertha, Loveland, and Fort Collins. I don't know how that's possible because it would make it really hard on them, but I
They
would
have a
want
magic wand.
to,
They have like
yes,
everything
exactly.
they need for these trips.
Yes, exactly. Everything they need. So it would magically be okay. And there would magically be like, a base in Boulder County for Accessoride to stop. So gas isn't, less of an, like it would make it possible, I think.
Great. Well, thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
so that's the end of our panel discussion. I know there were some comments and questions. We do have about 5 minutes left for any updates, but I just want to thank Scott and Maggie and Sarah and Miriam for taking time out of their schedule to to have this discussion with us. I really appreciate it. And I think just in general, it's great to hear it directly from users, like what we can do to be better. And I know that it's a lot to share with us, but I really appreciate it. So thank you for sharing your experiences and vulnerability. So that wraps up the panel discussion. Does anybody have any updates that they would like to share? Jamie, would you like to?
Yeah, I don't want to push the panic button, but I attended 2 RTD meetings last week. One was the Finance Committee, the other one was an Operations Committee. If you're not aware, they're in a 217 million deficit for 2027. And we're starting to hear language and talk about cuts that might extend into accessorized paratransit AOD, and that's unacceptable. The AOD is probably the most successful system they have. So there's some important dates coming up. The next board meeting is on June 23rd, at 5:30. You can tune in via Zoom, or that's also an in-person meeting. I hate to start banging the drum early, but there's only about 6 weeks before they present their decision on where to cut the budget. So I think we need to have our voices heard. I hate to say that we're going back to the AOD that we did a year ago, where we had to have an action and a protest and, people stuffing the boardroom. But I think they need to know that we're watching, and that cutting anything in AOD or accessoride is unacceptable right now.
Great, thank you, Jamie. I know that that was a really long engagement process, and it did feel like the engagement of the different disability rights groups really impacted how RTD chose to proceed with it. So thanks for a reminder. And I wanted to mention the 228 bus is on the chopping block, and that's the one that connects Broomfield with Louisville, Lafayette, and it goes by Kestrel. So yeah, if you use that bus, try to use it more. If you know somebody who does, encourage them to speak up. Sasha, would you like to share what your update is?
Yeah, thank you. This is Sasha. Less transportation related, but the Center for People with Disabilities next Friday, the 26th, we are hosting a listening session with the North Boulder Library branch to help make their makerspace a more accessible space to use, to be in, all that good stuff. Our registration numbers are a little lower than we'd like to have them right now. So please, if you are interested in coming, please feel free to register, share it with your networks. I am sending the link in the chat right now. It is next Friday from 10 to 12:30. Lunch will be provided. And if you click on the registration link, all that information, as well as information about the event itself, will be in there that you can feel free to share with your networks. Thank you so
Great, thank
much.
you. I appreciate it, Sasha. Okay, looks like Lindsay put an update about their Age Well plan. They have, is it over 30 community engagement or community conversations, Lindsay?
Yeah, we'll have 31 total, I think. So those are more for just members of the public who are interested in sharing feedback on aging and caregiving in Boulder County. We also have a key informant survey that we do every 4 years coming up. I'll get that out in people's email inboxes next week. If folks want to participate, please send me an email. Angel, you're already on the list, so you'll get it. And so will your team.
Okay, I will forward it to the MAC as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so if anybody wants to participate in, specifically, you have to serve caregivers of older adults or older adults, and I think most folks around here do. We'd love to hear your voices. And I will say, in the community conversations, transportation has come up at every single one. So Angel will be following up with you in a few weeks to give you a little preview.
Thank you, Lindsay. And
Yeah.
I think we only have one MAC meeting where we have presentations this year, but I would love to have a presentation if you're at that stage. I think it's in October, but
I will probably be out on
that's
parental
right.
leave, but we can figure something out. I'll be putting together a report that people can access, and some of that information will be in there as well. And certainly we can do a one-on-one. I'm doing a one-on-one as well with the assessor's office about the information we're getting from folks on property tax.
Awesome. And if you didn't catch that, Lindsay is expecting another baby. So
Sure.
congratulations. Yes. Can't wait. I love it when people like Boulder County has a policy where you can bring your infants to work. So last time we got lots of meetings with cute babies so I'm looking forward to more baby meetings.
It's true. There will be a baby in many, many meetings through February of next year.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know, Liz, if you have any updates about Find Help BOCO, or if the school district has any other. Amy, if you have any updates.
No, we're continuing to see good engagement on BOCO Find Help across the community. We average around 150, 175 searches on the site a week. So big shout out to Nick. He got a card for Mobility for All up on there so that folks who are looking for help with transportation resources can grab that. And we also realized that some of the RTD program cards were listed only for Denver County, and we were able to make those recommended updates, and they've been made now. So when you're searching for transportation resources, you'll see all of that. If you offer a transportation service at free, low cost, or sliding scale rates, we would love to see more and more of those included on the site. Typically, transportation related searches account for between 8 to 10% of our searches every month. So there are folks going on that site looking for help for all kinds of resources. But like you talk about here all the time, if I'm trying to get to a food bank, first step might be finding where the food is, and the second step is figuring out how to get there. So I'll drop a couple links in the chat, but just really appreciate y'all's partnership on this.
Great, thank you, Liz, and thank you, Nick, for creating cards for some of the transportation providers and encouraging them to claim those cards. I appreciate that. Jamie, you have another update?
Yeah, another clarification. There's RTD received a grant, a CTE grant, and the monies are focused on expanding RTD service. So it's kind of confusing. You know, people are going to see how can RTD expand this service but cut this one? And the routes that I was affecting was 53. I think that's in Broomfield, whether it will connect to the Grove. There was an issue about connecting to a disability housing project. The 83L would expand. This is the money that's being used to do the Longmont Airport connection. 72 and expanding the Flex ride in Broomfield. The reason why I bring this up is that the board is also writing, I think this came from the legislation, the CTE grant, and they're sending a letter asking if they could use that money to preserve routes.
Yeah.
So I'm suggesting those people that use that route that you had mentioned is what, the 228 that you had mentioned?
228, yeah.
228, that they write to their director and say, we really want you to dig deep and find out whether we can use those monies to continue a service. And if it does, we want the 228 to remain. So just a suggestion and a clarification, because I know people are going to get confused about that. It's like, how can RTD expand service and they're going to turn around and cut hours? So hopefully that clarifies.
Yeah, thank you. And Sarah did put the customer comment form. I don't know if that's the actual one that we're supposed to be using. I think as Gabriel saw on the call, I think that they are going to be releasing it to like this week sometime, the press release. Okay, well, I know we're a little bit over time, but I just really want to thank y'all for this robust conversation. Just a reminder that the next MAC meeting is in person, and it's the Simplify Communication training. And we need people to register through Eventbrite so that we know how much lunch to order. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you next month. And thank you, panelists. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.